Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all keeping well and have managed to get a bit of a break over the holidays. In today's video I've got a few new watercolour brushes to unbox from brush company Rosemary Co. And I'll be showing you how I used the brushes I bought in this colourful mallard duck painting. This was quite a challenging piece, but it was still a lot of fun and I did learn some valuable lessons in the process. So make sure you watch till the end of the video to see what those lessons were and to help you avoid making the same mistakes in your own watercolour paintings. So without further ado, let's get and open up the box. This is the first time I've ordered anything from this company, as I usually order from Jackson's or Amazon, but as far as I'm aware these brushes aren't available anywhere else. So if you are interested in picking them up for yourself, I'll leave a link to their website down in the description box. Rosemary Co is a family business based here in England in the UK, and looking on their website they do appear to ship worldwide. I was really impressed with the speed of delivery and love the care and attention to detail that's gone into the packaging, which is also fully recyclable. Along with my order they also included this comprehensive catalogue listing all their brushes, prices, what they're used for and so on. And there's even some tips at the back for how to clean and look after your brushes as well. Oh, and let's not forget the chocolates. I wasn't expecting that, but it feels like a real treat when you get a surprise chocolate in the box. So here are the brushes I ordered. They are both synthetic eradicator brushes. I bought a small and a medium, but they're also available in large and extra large. These brushes are described by Rosemary Co as being a long-sought solution to those unintended watercolour brush marks resulting from too much enthusiasm, haste or miscalculation. So basically they're good for lifting out accidents, but they can also be used to lift out highlights. Of course, how effective they are will also depend on other factors like the paper you're using and the pigments you're using too, but we'll talk more about that later. In terms of cost, I think these brushes are pretty reasonably priced. The small one, for example, was under £5 and the medium one was £6.50. As you can see, the bristles are quite short and firm and will hopefully allow me to be quite precise when using them to lift out or lighten specific areas in my paintings. Before receiving these new brushes, I was using my old synthetic flat brush from Roland Langnickel. And if you saw my last video, you may remember seeing me use it to lift out some highlights in the squirrel's fur. I'll leave a link in the card above if you haven't seen it. So this brush still works, but the bristles are getting a bit frayed now, so it is harder to be more precise with where I'm lifting out colour. You can see the differences here. The bristles are slightly longer, and they're definitely more frayed than the new brushes. I'm going to test them out in this duck painting. I transferred my outline drawing onto my paper, and today I'm using Arteza Expert paper. It's not cotton, but I like it for trying out new things on. For my paints I'm using the autumn palette I made up in a previous video. And here I'm preparing the colours I'm going to use to paint the duck's head. The reference photo, by the way, is from Pixabay, and I'll put a link to that in the description box along with all the materials I used. Now, whether you have eradicator brushes or a substitute like my old Roland Langnickel brush, it's important to remember that when painting with watercolour, the brightest whites are always going to be achieved by using the white of the paper. So I'm going to leave the white collar on the duck's neck free of any paint or water. You could also mask these areas out. For other areas on the duck's feathers where I want a more subtle lightening of the pigment, I use the eradicator brushes. I mentioned earlier that how successful the lifting or eradicating will be depends partly on the pigment you're using, and this is because some pigments are naturally more staining and harder to lift than others. So when considering using this technique to try and lift out highlights or lighten areas, you may want to test it out with the pigments you have beforehand. As a starting point, staining colours include the phthalo colours, Prussian blue, permanent rose, quinacridone rose, and there are obviously others, so try them out for yourself to see what results you get. Knowing the different properties of your watercolours can really help you to plan what techniques you can use in your paintings and use those properties to your advantage. So on the duck's head I used Sennelier's Forest Green, which is quite staining, but whilst you can't lift the pigment completely, you can lighten it. The same goes for the gorgeous Hematite Violet shade by Roman Schmall that I'm painting on the neck here. Daniel Smith's Sodalite Genuine, on the other hand, is non-staining and can be lifted out almost completely from the paper. It also has a beautiful granulation, which I think helps to give some nice texture to the feathers on the chest here. I'll show you how these colours lift once the paper is dry. In the meantime, I'm using more of the non-staining Sodalite Genuine to paint a first layer on the wing feathers. I've taken the paint beyond my pencil outline here to provide a bit of a background, and I'll try lifting out the highlights here too. Now that's dry, I've spotted a bit of a mistake. Here I painted over part of the feather that's meant to be left white, so I'm going to use the medium eradicator brush to try and tidy it up. I dip the brush into clean water, take off any excess water on a paper towel and gently rub the paper to reactivate the paint, lifting off the paint using a paper towel. And it works really well. It's important when using this technique not to scrub too hard at your paper, or else you'll risk it bobbling and pilling. And this is especially important if you're not using 100% cotton paper. This Arteza paper isn't cotton, but it did hold up really well. I think the Rosemary Co brushes are slightly softer than the old brush I was using, but maybe the shorter bristles make it more effective, so it's gentler on the paper. I also lighten up the white feathers here. And switching over to the small brush, lift out some colour here. Now looking at the reference photo, there is an area of bright iridescent feathers under the duck's eye, so I want to lift some pigment here too. Like I said earlier, this forest green pigment is quite staining, but I can still lift enough pigment to lighten this area up. This will allow me to add a lighter glaze over it once it's dry. Moving back to this side, I'm lifting out a couple of softer highlights and painting around them with some concentrated Payne's Grey to really add contrast to my painting. And I was impressed with the precision I could achieve when trying to pull out the really narrow highlights here. Once I'd finished painting the dark grey feathers, I loosely painted in the feet, and now I'm mixing some Van Dyke Brown with the Hematite Violet shade to paint a watery layer of watercolour on the feathers at the top here. And whilst the paper was still wet, I added in some darker pigment to add in some more feather detail and definition. I also painted the dark shadow area underneath the wings using concentrated Payne's Grey and painting onto dry paper. So far so good. But at the start of this video I said that this painting was challenging. Well, this next part was the challenging bit, and whilst it turned out okay in the end, I thought it might be useful for me to share why it was challenging and what I learned as a result. And if you have any other helpful suggestions for me or anyone else watching this video, then please do drop a comment below. So why was this area of the painting more challenging? Well, I think this was for several reasons, and the first is to do with the initial sketch. I always say it's important to get an accurate outline sketch down before you start, which is fine. But what I learnt from this painting was that including too much detail in the initial sketch can actually overcomplicate the painting process, especially when you have rows of feathers to paint. So perhaps consider before you do your outline sketch, how much detail do you want or need to put in? If you're aiming for photorealism, you might want to put in every detail. But if you're aiming for a looser, more expressive piece, you might want to think about what you can leave out. And with a simpler outline, you're less likely to feel overwhelmed, and you can always add in more detail as your painting progresses. The second reason this part of the painting was challenging, I put down to the scale of my painting. There is actually quite a lot of detail on here for the size of the piece of paper I'm working on, which made it really fiddly. From a viewing distance, a lot of these details won't even be seen, so what I'd like to try and do next time is be more fluid with my brushstrokes, to convey the look and feel of feathers rather than painstakingly trying to paint every detail. Easier said than done, but sometimes less is more, and leaving some of the detail out can actually make for a more interesting piece of artwork. Our eyes can actually fill in the gaps rather than being bombarded with too much information. Watercolour is also a medium that can do some wonderful things if it's given the chance, so I'd like to try and relinquish a bit of control, but it all takes time and practice to get the balance right. So that's something I'd like to experiment with and explore more in the coming year. Of course though, this is just my opinion, so if you like painting in all the details, absolutely keep doing it. I just feel that this painting ended up looking a bit overworked, but let me know what you think. Now with the feather detail finally in, I'm taking a mechanical pencil to lightly mark out where I want the cast shadow from the feathers to be. And I paint this in with a light transparent glaze so as not to cover up the feather detail I've painted in underneath. It's far easier to paint the shadows over the top at the end like this than trying to do it the other way round. That's all dry now and I've painted the duck's bill. So now time for a bit of permanent green light to add a pop of colour to the duck's head. And some darker shadow green in places to add contrast. I also painted another layer of the hematite violet shade onto the duck's chest. And to try and add a bit of harmony to the painting, I used the same shadow green I'd layered over the duck's head, diluted down with a bit of water. I did wonder about whether to paint the grass as well, but decided it would look a bit too busy, so I stuck with just painting the shadow. At this point, despite my initial reservations about how I'd rendered the lighter feathers, I did think this mallard looked quite pleased with himself, and I love the effects you can get with the eradicator brushes. So to complete this painting, I wanted to add a little sparkle to his eye and a few finishing touches with my white Tombow acrylic marker. If you don't have one of these, you can also use white gouache, white ink or even white pastel pencil. This is a great way to add just a few flyaway feathers and give the painting just a little bit of something extra. I also added a few little dots here and there just to add interest. And then with a final spatter, this painting was done. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and comment below if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching, look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.